Okay, so I am going to kick off because we've got half an hour, so not very long. And it's such an important topic, and I want to make sure that we get to cover everything. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Selena. I'm one of the money mentors at Women's Wealth. And Finance on Fridays is a Women's Wealth broadcast where we spend half an hour talking through some of the latest information and views around topics that matter to our members. So, feel free to contribute to our session today. We thank you for your input and we welcome any questions or comments that you have. You can add them to the chat box or just join in the conversation, and we'll be monitoring those as we go through. It's also important to say that we can't offer bespoke financial advice here. We just don't have the time and we don't kind of know you enough to cover and to make that possible, but we're happy to tackle things on a general level. So if you could keep the questions general, that would be awesome. Okay, and for those of you that are joining us today, I understand that it's a sensitive topic, so I will not be offended if you prioritize your well-being here, but equally, if you are okay to share your own experiences, feel safe to do so. And before we begin, I just wanted to ask how many of you had heard of the term economic abuse before joining today's session? So you can just come off mute and say, or feel free to answer in the chat if it's a topic that you have already heard of. Yeah, Sam saying yes, I have heard of it. Oh, okay, and Rebecca, you said no, I haven't heard of it before today. Okay, thank you so much. So hopefully we'll give you a lot of information about this topic. It's a really important topic for us to know about, and it may be something that can be used, information that can use personally for yourself or for friends and family if you are supporting them. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Simon to talk about what economic abuse actually is. So over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Selena. So, yeah, economic abuse is a form of domestic abuse, and it was legally recognised in the Domestic Abuse Act in 2021 in the UK. And it's thought that around 1 in 5 women in the UK has experienced economic abuse, either from a partner or from a former partner. And economic abuse can involve exerting control over someone else's income or over someone else's spending. And there are lots of different aspects to it. So it can also involve controlling someone's bank accounts, interfering with bills or making them pay bills, or borrowing money from someone. And it can also involve controlling access to technology or transport. It can also involve destroying items that belong to someone else. And then it can also cover things like refusing to contribute to household costs. So you can see from those that it can take lots of different forms. And it's also important to not assume that this just takes place in certain types of relationships. So we often talk about it in relation to partnerships, but it can happen in different types of relationships as well. So, for example, between parents and children, between siblings, and basically, yeah, in any kind of relationship that you can think of, really, it could happen in that. And Selena's going to talk more about this now. So back to you, Selena.
Thank you, Simon. So I'm just going to share my screen. So give me a few seconds. I'm going to share a video with you, and it's a bit of a media a video that was put out by the charity called Surviving Economic Abuse. So it's a little bit dramatic. It's a bit of a dramatization, but it does cover a victim survivor's story of experiencing economic abuse. So do take a look at this video, and then we will discuss anything that stands out from the video, uh, again, to sort of illustrate how economic abuse can begin, essentially, and some of the signs and the symptoms of economic abuse. So I'm just going to share my screen. And do let me know if you can hear the video.
It's a gradual process. little by little, bit by bit. It's a cliche, I know, but he was the love of my life. We got married, new house in the country. I was pregnant. Life was good. He thought I should leave my job. I was a bit sad, but the guys gave me a great send off. £7, 6 ounces, a healthy baby boy. We called him Archie. And he was right. I could now stay home and look after our son. It's expensive having a baby. I was exhausted and lonely. So he offers to help by managing all the bills. Funny how you don't even really notice it at first. Then he suggested that I put all of my life savings into our joint account. Now we can pay off the mortgage quicker. He keeps telling me that it's not his money or my money, but it's our money. Little by little. Then he says that we need to be more careful with our spending. He puts me on a strict budget. I get £30 a week to pay for everything. I can't afford the petrol to take Archie to school. He just says that the walking good for us. Bit by bit. He asks to see receipts for everything. He questions me on where I've been, who I've met, what I've spent. He took all my bank cards. And when I tried to access our bank account, I discovered that he's changed all the passwords. I tried to discuss it with him, but he just gets angry. He screams at me, slams doors, tells me I'm mad. It's just he blames me, says it's my fault that I'm forgetful, that I'm stupid. I literally have to beg him for money, for food, petrol, everything. Sometimes I go hungry just so I don't have to ask. I'm scared. I've got no one to talk to. He hasn't actually hit me, so no one would believe me. I don't know what to do. I just want to get Archie and go, but I can't. I have no money and no way out.
So I just wanted to camera back in place. I just wanted to share that video with you. It's taken from the Surviving Economic Abuses YouTube channel, and I saw that someone has joined just as we shared that video. So this is an example of a victim survivor's story, a bit of a reenactment of their experience. Of someone who has experienced economic abuse. So if you've just joined it, it may not make too much sense as to kind of what we were showing. So just to explain that. But I wanted to show this video now so that we can have some discussions around some of the signs or some of the behaviours that a perpetrator may carry out. And Simon has spoken about some of those behaviours before. And I also want you to think about the video, and was there anything in there that was quite surprising? I know that when I first became part of the charity Surviving Economic Abuse, one of the surprising things for me when hearing of people's experiences of economic abuse was just how innocuous and how innocent some of these controlling and coercive behaviours begin as. So I don't know if anyone wants to share any thoughts that they had around the video before I go. Do feel free to come off mute or do share in the chat. Simon, have you got any messages in the chat just to check?
There aren't any messages in the chat, but I think so. From watching the video, the similar to what you said, the idea that it starts off innocuous and then escalates from there is quite a powerful one. and I guess relevant to lots of forms of control.
Yeah. So if you're a person who, wants to have a family, is okay with the idea of kind of staying home and raising the family, if your partner suggests to you that you stay home to raise the kids, it can be quite a, kind of a normal request, quite a kind of innocent request. And as long as their intentions are good and they're very supportive towards you, still you have access to the bank accounts and the finances. It's such an innocuous request. So, but then it kind of, as the video went on, the sort of behaviors kind of escalates. We do deal with clients who do get inheritances, or who do, maybe they've got a pay rise and suddenly their income has increased. And this idea that actually let's pool our money together. Again, as being in a relationship, being in a partnership, it seems like such an ordinary request, an ordinary and innocent request. But again, when you add on the intentions of perhaps a perpetrator, that's when it can become, move into that territory of economic abuse, where you have a joint account and suddenly your access is taken away. So again, it's just these little innocuous behaviors that we don't necessarily think as warning signs for us. It's something to kind of think about. So I just want to share some signs of economic abuse. And again, Simon has mentioned them, but we'll go into a bit more detail of behaviours. So I just say, economic abuse can be very difficult to identify, and it can start slowly and it can build up over time, as we've seen in the video. So for example, in the video, giving you the idea to give up work to focus on the children, or even giving up managing of the finances. I speak to countless women, or, the tradition for maybe an older generation of women was that, the man went out to work and, the woman stayed home, took care of the children, and, was in charge of the finances. So, pooling the money together and taking the burden off so that you don't have to worry about the finances, being encouraged, moving your savings or inheritance into a joint bank account before blocking access. So many women have experienced economic abuse for many years without realizing it. And I should say as well, we do know that men do experience economic abuse as well, but not at the same level as women. It's also important to be aware that economic abuse can be happening alongside other forms of domestic abuse. So a person who's been abused in other ways may not be aware that economic abuse is happening, or it may not be at the forefront of their mind because safety could be their priority. Sabotaging your income and access to money, so preventing you from being in education or employment. So, not encouraging you to progress your career or get that education or that employment. It could be limiting your working hours as well. So maybe making it access for you to go out to work if there's no other form of childcare available. Taking your pay. Could you imagine how it would feel if you had to give your pay to, a partner and you wasn't able to have, free access and free choice over your money? Refusing to let you claim benefits or support as well. And refusing to give you access to bank account. So we can see that these behaviors take away a person's independence and their ability to make financial decisions and choices for themselves. Also, other examples of economic abuse behavior include restricting how you use your money, always having to account for your spending, dictating what you can buy, providing receipts for what you can buy, keeping a spending diary, having to justify any purchases as well. And it's about eroding a person's power. It's about creating economic instability as well. And it could be taking control of a person's property, so not allowing them access to a mobile phone or access to a car, again, to travel to work or to just do whatever they want to do. It could be also insisting that all economic assets, so any savings, any houses, are in their name only, and keeping financial information a secret. And another form is, exploiting your economic situation. So it could be stealing your money or property, causing damage to property as well, refusing to contribute to household costs, spending money that you would need for household items and bills on themselves, or, spending it frivolously. And then again, building up liabilities in a person's name. So insisting that all bills and credit cards and loans are in your name and making you pay them. So it builds up debt in your name rather than, sharing the burden of, the financial responsibilities. And sometimes debt can be accrued without knowledge as well. So it's really important to be aware that sometimes some of the behavior can be in secret and underhand. I don't know if anyone can think of any other signs that you might be able to think of. Anything in the chat, Simon? Just checking.
No, nothing in the chat. I thought the example from the video of the being at home with a child and then that being, I'll support you with that as the entry point was really interesting as well.
It is. It's so innocuous. It's so innocent, isn't it?
In the chat, actually, Sam talked about how it's tempting to delegate. So I guess in that situation, you're thinking, oh, I can delegate some of this, and not necessarily being aware at that point that you're giving up some aspect of independence by doing that delegation.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel you're delegating because you might feel like it's a help to you, isn't it? It's a help to you. You're maybe thinking about other things or your priorities and taking care of other things within that partnership. So money may be delegated to somebody else. But you do need to think about what happens if there is then, secrecy. You don't have access to information and knowledge around that delegation and what is happening. And next, I want to talk about the impact of economic abuse. So the impact can be devastating and have lifelong consequences due to financial independence being restricted. So a perpetrator denying access to money, preventing a victim from working, sabotaging employment, access to joint bank accounts, coercing them into debt can negatively impact a victim's working life, and then also the financial life. So this type of abuse is designed to create economic instability. So that can be a huge impact, and it's designed to make one partner economically dependent on the other, which can limit their freedom, because without access to money and the things that money can buy, it can be difficult to leave an abuser and actually access safety. So effectively, someone experiencing this type of abuse can become trapped in the relationship with the abuser, and unable to kind of get away from further harm. So like you can see there, it strips a victim survivor of their independence, and it makes it difficult to leave. And then also the long-term impact. We're talking about money and finances. If someone is refusing to help you pay for the mortgage, refusing to help you pay for the bills or a bank loan, it can have a long-term impact on your credit score and your ability to get further credit, and escape that environment. So many victim survivors, when they leave with nothing, and they have to essentially start from scratch. Sometimes they have large debts, and also they have a poor credit rating. And as part of my role as an ambassador for surviving economic abuse, I work alongside other ambassadors, and there's an ambassador there who has experienced economic abuse themselves. And one of the things that they said was that they had an amazing career in financial services. And one of the things about financial services, with some organizations, you have to make sure that you've got a good credit score. And she experienced economic abuse to the extent where her partner refused to allow them to sell their home. So refused to pay the mortgage, and when they separated, refused to sell their home. And that had a massive big impact on her credit score. And it meant that she was unable to continue her work in the UK because it just damaged her finances. And it had a real knock-on impact. And one of the other things that she mentioned was the fact that she wanted to have children. And because she'd spent a long time in that relationship as well, she's unaware of whether or not she will be able to have children as well. So it doesn't just impact financially in a simple sense. And then also it doesn't just impact a person in their life goals and what they want to achieve as well. It can be devastating in both sense. So it's really important to understand just how severe the impact can be. It's also important to recognize that if you are speaking to a victim survivor of economic abuse, they may not be ready to admit or acknowledge that they are experiencing economic abuse, and they may not be aware that it is actually a crime. So it's really important to be really, really gentle with them and really not force them if they're not ready to speak about it just yet. We've seen some of the symptoms, we've seen some of the impacts, and I just now want to talk about how you can help someone, or if you've been sat on this presentation today and felt like actually these are some of the behaviors I'm seeing within my own relationship. Some things you can do to support is be there to listen. And like I said, it may take a while for someone to realize that economic abuse is happening and for them to feel safe enough to disclose this information to you and to ask for help. So do be a listening ear for someone. Also, we'd encourage you to share our blog. So there is a blog on our website about economic abuse. Do share the information that you get from the handout as well with your friends and loved ones. The more people that know about economic abuse and how it starts, the signs, the better. Number 3, visit the charity Surviving Economic Abuse for more specialized support if you believe that you are experiencing economic abuse, and do send information about the charity the way of friends and family. And report economic abuse to your bank if it is safe to do so. So Surviving Economic Abuse, they have a banking support directory which details the support available from your bank. So the different banks that there are, whatever your whoever you bank with. So for example, for their vulnerable customers, HSBC allow support in, allowing customers to receive a new card, changing their PINs and passwords, changing their correspondence address, changing who can access your account, and managing also joint accounts. They can also allow you to remove secondary card holders from your credit cards, and they also can help with managing debt. And also Surviving Economic Abuse have pioneered challenging coerced debt. So if there is debt on your file that has been coerced, they do have an economic abuse form that you can fill in when you approach the bank, and hopefully they have helped people to get coerced debt taken off their credit report and file. Also, some branches such as HSBC and TSB, they offer safe spaces for people who are experiencing domestic abuse and economic abuse. So you can go into those branches and explain that you would like to access, safe space, share your experience, and get some help there. It's important to keep a record of the economic abuse incidences, again, if it is safe to do so. It may be possible to pursue prosecution against an abuser for controlling or coercive behaviour. So they need a record of maybe 2 incidences, and also if something shows a pattern of continuous coercive control and controlling behaviour. If it's safe to do so, continue to maintain some form of financial independence from your partner. So some bank accounts allow you to create a new account without providing your current address if it isn't safe. And then speaking to your financial advisor, who will be able to identify any risks to your financial well-being as well. And then do get support. You know, you do not have to deal with this alone. Contact Surviving Economic Abuse. They have a support line that they host in conjunction with the Money and Pension Service, or the Money Advice Service, which has been set up to help. So you can actually speak to someone and get support. I just want to know if there are any questions or comments in the chat just before we wrap up. Anything in there, Simon? No?
No, nothing in there.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for joining Simon and myself. We hope you found this session useful. You can join Women's Wealth for free by signing up to our Enable membership and gaining access to carefully created content from Women's Wealth. We want to be your financial best friend. We have courses on how to start investing, resources to help you manage money and create a fabulous financial future for yourself. We are authorized and regulated independent financial planners. And for those who need more one-to-one services, you can upgrade your membership to suit via our website. And don't forget to pop the 12 p.m. on Friday, the 29th of November in your diary for our next Finance on Friday session, which will be talking about financial well-being. And join us for the Autumn Budget Live event, which is on Monday, the 4th of November at 1:30 p.m. So we'll give you a quick bite-sized breakdown of the budget and what it could mean for our community. So we hope to see you there. And our next Ask the Advisor session is on March the 13th at 7 p.m. So feel free to email us at www@womenswealth.co.uk with your burning questions, or just show up and ask on the day. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you, everyone.